the best day of the week, folks. It's Friday. Everybody loves Fridays, right? Everybody hates Mondays. Everybody loves Fridays. Everybody hates a Monday after a loss, but hopefully everybody enjoys a Friday, whether it came after a loss or came after a win. No game for Pitt this weekend, but we've still got the Morning Pitt Mailbag here on youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. So, you know what we do. We take questions all week long from Pitt fans on the message boards at Panther-Lair.com, and then we answer as many as we can here in the mailbag episode on Friday. And sometimes it takes us, usually it takes us about 20 minutes to do it. Sometimes it takes us more. Who knows? Maybe I'll answer the questions really quick. Maybe I'll be into the whole brevity thing today, and we'll get out of here in 12 minutes. Probably not, but, it's always a possibility. I'm not going to waste any more time. Let's get into the questions. Let's get into the mailbag. It's the Morning Pitt Mailbag here on youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. All right, it's Friday. It's the Morning Pit. It's youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com, and I'm Chris Peak from Panther-Lair.com. Make sure you like this video and subscribe. I don't really want to say that any more times. I don't think I need to tell you why you want to like this video and subscribe. Hopefully you like this video because you like the video. You need to subscribe so you can make sure you don't miss any of our Pitt video content, whether it's our daily Morning Pitt videos Monday through Friday, our weekly live show every Wednesday night, our post-game shows. Obviously, there won't be one of those this weekend. Maybe we should all get together tomorrow night at 8 o'clock and just hang out and drink and, talk about Pitt sports. But I'm guessing we won't do that. I don't think we'll do that. But you know what? Who knows? Maybe I'll be maybe it'll be a big surprise, and I'll just launch a surprise, unknown, unannounced live show on you tomorrow. I probably won't, but I might. And if you want to make sure you don't miss it in case I decide to do something like that, subscribe to youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com, and you can turn on notifications so you get an alert sent to your phone anytime we go live or start anything we do here at youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. So do me a favor, like and subscribe, and let's jump into it. Comments and questions here, or the questions for this week's mailbag. Pitman73 says, after a loss to West Virginia because we played an undisciplined game. This is a long one, all right? So I'm going to read the whole thing, and then we'll answer it. All right, Pitman73 says, after a loss to West Virginia because we played an undisciplined game, Pat Narduzzi's opening post-game comment was, heck of a ball game for our fans to watch. How could he think Pitt fans enjoyed watching that game? Did he enjoy watching the game? Sorry, those are not my questions, just venting. To me, his statement sounds like Neil Brown's comment last year when asked a question about why Mountaineer fans should keep coming to games. Brown said, I get that they want to win, but what I would say is, did they have a good time? Did they enjoy it? It was a pretty good atmosphere. I'm assuming they had a pretty good time tailgating. So if they're in the deal for enjoyment, that I would come back. I looked at the weather, and it's going to be nice again. Which Narduzzi follow up with a post about Pitt practice saying, did we enjoy it? Check. Nice weather? Check. Do you think Narduzzi is aware of the similarity, and will anyone ask him about it? That's the end of Pitman73's question. So I see what you're getting at, and no, I'm not going to ask Pat Narduzzi. I'm not going to ask Pat Narduzzi on Monday, hey, you said heck of a ball game for the fans to watch. Did that feel like Neil Brown's comments last year, and that you trolled him about? I'm not going to ask him about that. Look, in a really objective way, okay, totally objective fashion, if you remove a rooting interest from either side and you sit back, you have a football game where one team was up 10, the other team comes back and goes up 10, and then the other team comes back and ties it and wins it in overtime. It's a competitive, exciting game with an exciting finish. You might not have liked the outcome or most of what happened throughout the afternoon, but in terms, if you were watching without a rooting interest, you probably thought that was a heck of a football game. Same thing with the bowl game against Toledo. A lot of people watched that game because it was fascinating theater, and it was exciting, and it was back and forth, and you didn't know who was going to win or what was going to happen, and each team made plays to take the lead, and each team blew plays to give the other team the lead. That is a heck of a ball game to watch. Now, if you're a fan of one of the teams, your mileage is going to vary considerably, right? And I know you're asking me this question as a Pitt fan, and I think, to be honest, if you're Pat Narduzzi, if you're the losing coach in any one of these kinds of games, you know what I mean? If you are who coached Cincinnati last year? Was it Scott Satterfield or whoever? If you're Neil Brown last year, I don't think you walk out and say, boy, that was a heck of a game where we were up 20 points and, we just completely blew it. That other team, they made so many good plays. Like, I don't think, you're not going to come out and say that. I think you need to read the room, as it were. And I mean that sort of metaphorically, because we're not just talking about, or I mean that figuratively, because we're not just talking about the room in front of you of media and reporters, but we're talking about the Pitt fans who are going to be listening and saying, the hell are you talking about? Heck of a ball game. You had 14 penalties. You converted 4 third downs. Your quarterback missed 7 throws he should have made. Your defense gave up 159 yards on the final 2 drives in regulation. That wasn't a heck of a ball game. You blew it. That was terrible. Because Pat Narduzzi has to realize that in that setting, he's not talking to the general college football fan that has no rooting interest in the game. He's talking to Pitt fans who are not going to be sitting back saying, well, that was a heck of a game. There might be instances where you have that reaction, where even in a loss, you say, oh, that was a tough one, but damn, that was some kind of game. That was really something to watch. I don't think that game on Saturday is it, because you expected to win, thought you should have won pretty comfortably. You're a better team, and you blew it every which way you could. So I think that was probably ill-advised comments on Pat Narduzzi's part, a little bit tone-deaf to the people who would be most likely listening to his comments and reading his comments. But that's that. To your question, though, no, we're not going to ask. Diehard Panther says, how much NIL money is Pitt spending on the football team this year? You get like sort of a combination of NIL money and revenue sharing money, because the revenue sharing started in July 1st, and I think you're sort of spreading money over the whole year, January to January or July to July, however you want to look at it. January to January is probably the best way to look at it. I don't know an exact number. Even if you combine the NIL money that came from Alliance 412 in the first half of the year with the revenue share money that was coming from Pitt and that is coming from Pitt in the second half of the year, I don't know if there's, I don't know the exact number. I do think it's probably north of $10 million, I would say, for this roster. And that would be just kind of a general number. It might be even a little bit more than that, but I think that's probably ballpark. Probably a little bit above that, and that's what you're looking at. Again, in a combination between what Alliance 412 did in the first 6 months of the year and what Pitt is doing with revenue sharing now, I think that's probably the area you're looking in. MGH421 says, what do you think is the issue with the offensive line? Talent, scheme, communication, a combination of everything? Yeah, I mean, mostly a combination of everything. I think, there's some individuals who aren't playing well. I think there's an issue with the scheme. I think in this last game there was an issue with the preparation, and even if you don't want to say the preparation, because West Virginia did things they hadn't done before, and so you didn't really have a good read on it, or at least you really couldn't prepare for it well. Then there's an issue of adjustment. Okay, you didn't know West Virginia was going to do this on defense. You didn't see this coming. Okay, well, now you've seen it. Now it's happening. Like, now this is what West Virginia is doing and wants to do. Adjust to it. Do better with it. And they never really did. It never really got better. And they weren't all that great at run blocking or pass blocking against Duquesne or Central Michigan. And if you held something back in terms of your blocking schemes in those 2 games, I mean, shame on you, man. Like, you need to get better. Like, I'm tired of using these opening games or these FCS games or some of these G5 games as like, just got to get through the game and not show too much. Screw showing too much. It doesn't matter what you show, because guess what? You just played West Virginia, and I'm guessing you didn't hold anything back in that game. So everybody else, Louisville knows what you do, right? And Louisville already knew what you do because they saw you last year. You've been running the same defense for 11 years. Everybody knows what you do on defense. You've got, coming into this past week's game, you had 15 games of tape of Cade Bell's offense being run at Pitt, plus all of his time at Western Carolina. Like, there are no secrets. Stop trying to surprise people. I know we just said, West Virginia surprised Pitt with their defense. Well, okay, if Pat Narduzzi wants to come out and run a 3-3-5 to try and throw Louisville off, go for it. Do something like that. But, in general, if you're just going to run your stuff all year, which I think you should, do what you do, be good at it, stop trying to hold stuff back. Stop trying to be clever. Stop trying to be the smartest guy in the room and just be the best team in the room. Maybe not the room. Stop trying to be the smartest guy in the league or the smartest coaches in the league and just start trying to have the best team in the league by actually doing what you want to do, in those first few games so you get good at it. H2P Falbert says, what are your top 3 worst weeks to have to moderate the message boards? Do you mean in any, each year? What are the worst weeks every year, or just the worst weeks in my 20 years of doing this? I'm guessing you mean the worst weeks in 20 years of doing this. I mean, pick your bad loss, pick your emotional loss, pick your, just go through it. West Virginia 2005, West Virginia 2006, Rutgers 2006. Take your pick in 2007, the Navy game. Let's just say, let's pick one game each year that was just an absolute meltdown. West Virginia in 05 and 06. Navy in 2007, Bowling Green in 2008. Oh, yeah, Sun Bowl also. We might have to have a competition on what was the worst reaction there in 2008. Cincinnati in 2009 for sure. Take your pick of bad losses in 2010. I mean, they got absolutely embarrassed by Miami and West Virginia, but probably the Connecticut game in 2010. 2011, people were sort of I don't know if there was one game that stood out there, but Youngstown State in 2012, that was a humdinger. 2013, I think they lost to Navy again. That might have been a bad one. 2014, they lost to Akron, so that the message boards were dying there. 2015, there probably wasn't a bad loss that really incurred the wrath, but certainly the next year with the North Carolina game, certainly in 2017, there's countless games there. 2018, the UCF game, 2019, the Miami and Boston College games. And I'm just talking football. We haven't even gotten into hoops. Anytime there's a really bad loss or a really disappointing loss, the message boards, I've made this joke before. People talk to me about rooting interests and things like that of what do I root for or what do I, and I generally say that I want the outcome that's going to help business. I can't really influence the outcomes at all. So what outcomes are best for business? But I'll be honest that when I'm sitting there watching a game, there is a voice inside my head that is constantly reminding me or informing me of how the message boards are going to respond to whatever we just saw. That play, that drive, that quarter, that half, that game. Well, the boards are going to go crazy over that one. Oh, I bet the message boards hate that. Oh, that's going to be people are going to be talking about that. And so when I'm watching a game that's going really poorly, West Virginia on Saturday, Western Michigan in 2021, the Toledo Bowl game last year, I'm sitting there covering the game, writing about the game, getting prepared to talk about the game and all these things. And I'm thinking it's going to be a rough week on the boards. And there have been plenty of those, over the years, because there have been plenty of bad losses over the years, and certainly on the basketball side too. Whether it was in the Kevin Stallings years, the early Jeff Capel years, basically everything outside of 1 or 2 years of Jeff Capel. There's been a lot of ugly, difficult weeks where you're on the boards and the thing too with the message boards in terms of moderating them, especially in tough times. It's a message board and it's a fan community, and you've got to fans are coming there to vent, right? Fans are coming there to rant about it. A lot of people, I think, on the message boards probably have other friends who are Pitt fans, but they like to talk to more Pitt fans, and so they get on the message boards to do that, to interact with other Pitt fans. And after a loss like the West Virginia one that pissed you off like that, yeah, everybody's mad, everybody's up in arms, and so but you have to let them vent. You have to that's why they're on the boards in that particular instance. But at the same time, I think there's a significant portion of the fan base that gets a little bit tired of coming to the message boards and every single day getting beat over their head with your team sucks, your coach sucks, your program sucks, your university sucks, most of the Western Hemisphere. So, at a certain point, I don't know, finding that balance between allowing fans to vent, but also not allowing that to sort of just dominate the boards. That's always been one of the biggest challenges of this job, and far more difficult than chasing down stories or reporting on things or any of those other elements of this profession. Just trying to balance the message boards through moderation. It could be a challenge. And I don't think we always get it right. I know I don't always get it right. For 20 years, I've been trying to figure it out, and I still don't think I have an answer. Let's see. Litchfield Tower A says this past weekend marked the last scheduled backyard brawl until 2029. Since the game's return, it's been a massive success for both schools in terms of attendance, television ratings, and national coverage. How did the two schools allow this rivalry to lapse again? And is it possible that we could see some last-minute schedule changes for the brawl to return before 2029? I'm guessing no on any more games between now and then, but at least we get 8 years of it once it starts up again in 2029. That's pretty great. How did the schools let it lapse? I don't know. For some reason, they just put a 4-game series on the schedule and never really thought to add to it or extend it or anything like that. And so I'm guessing they had other, non-conference obligations, other things scheduled while this one wasn't getting done. But it should have gotten done. It should get done. It should continue to get done because it's awesome. Like you might not have liked what went down on Saturday, but it was still great to watch. Like a Pitt West Virginia game. Just like it was in 2023, even though you might not have liked the outcome. Just like I think probably fans on both sides would say it was great to get the brawl back in 2022, even if half of the fans watching the game did not like the outcome. Ditto for last year. Like, you could ask Pitt, I'm sure West Virginia fans hate that game last year or hate the MJ Devonshire game in 2022, but they would also tell you they'd much rather have the game than not have it. And so it was great. I'm glad that there'll be 8 more years of it. We just got to wait a couple years for that to start. Jay Lazinger says, if Pitt wins 7 games this year, does that put Pat Narduzzi in danger or just on the hot seat for next year? Probably the hot seat for next year or a warmer seat for next year. There's still that matter of the buyout to consider, and that's always going to be a relevant factor when we're talking about Pat Narduzzi and Jeff Capel. Can't really pay to make them all go away. So you either better win or you're going to put, you could potentially force Alan Green to make a decision on who gets to stay and who gets to go. Warrior Dan, kind of following up on that. Can Pitt come up with the money to fire Pat Narduzzi? Like, maybe they could put in their efforts and raise the money to fire, to pay a buyout for Narduzzi or Jeff Capel. But what I've said for like the last 2 years, maybe longer, is like, okay, maybe they could come up with that money, but like there's so many things to spend money on right now. Like there's so many things that are, actual tangible products to spend money on, of like not just paying someone to go away. There's revenue sharing to spend money on. There's, efforts in raising money to fund that, revenue sharing, efforts to raise money through NIL. There's Victory Heights. There's all the sort of natural expenses and costs that come with running a college football program or a men's basketball program. Like, all of those things need money and will directly contribute to what kind of team you put on the field. Paying somebody to go away and then paying more to bring somebody in, like that's money that could have gone to revenue sharing or any of these other things. So can Pitt come up with the money to do it? Maybe. Should they? Probably not. Bigowski 34 wants to know, how did Pitt expect a better offensive line this year? I know there's more depth, but Pitt lost a 6th-round draft pick and an Ohio State guard transfer and replaced that with a Michigan depth piece and a fringe FCS starter. So the depth is an important part, right? Like they believe they would be deeper, and I think they are. Look, there's a lot of issues up front. Wait, somebody asked about the offensive line, right? What did I say about it? Talent, scheme, communication, a combination of everything. That's what somebody asked a little bit ago. I think there are individual players that aren't playing well. I think there are some coaching things and some scheme things that are not. That's right. I got off on a tangent about the first couple of games of the season. I think there's some scheme things and some coaching things that are probably not being handled very well right now, either not being absorbed by the players or not being taught well, or maybe just poor plans going into it. I think there are a lot of issues with that group up front right now. I think some guys have been okay. Some guys have not played well individually, and the group as a whole is just not functioning in a cohesive fashion the way you need to if you're going to be an effective offensive line. I think Pitt looked at it and said, all right, We've got Ryan Baer, BJ Williams, and Lyndon Cooper back. We've got 3 guys to fill in these other 2 spots. They've all played, even though Keith Cuvea was in and out of the starting lineup at Richmond, even though Jeff Percy only really had a couple starts at Michigan. Kendall Stanley was a full-time starter. All these guys, we should be able to get something usable out of them. And I guess they have, but it just hasn't been very good. So, I see where Pitt maybe thought they would have a decent line, but through 3 games, it hasn't been. Let's see, scrolling through here. Zenmeister1992 says, have you or would you guys ever consider doing a live show, the Wednesday night Panther-Lair show, at a venue for people to come and hang out? Thought about it every now and then. This is a good question to end on. I've thought about it with the live show, the Wednesday night show. I've thought about it with the post-game shows, get people to come out to the post-game show and talk about it. I just don't know. I mean, to be honest, I just don't know if we would draw a crowd. Like, that's a simple truth of it. We get, decent number of people watching the live streams. We get decent numbers on these Morning Pitt episodes through the week, but I think people, even with the live shows, watch them at sort of their own convenience. A lot of people don't tune in necessarily for the live shows. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know if there'd be a lot of interest in it, and I mean, I think we could probably find somewhere to go do it, but then you get into the whole, the logistics of do you have speakers? Do you have can people hear you? I mean, I'm sitting here talking into this microphone, which is plugged into my computer. This is not being amplified or projected or anything like that. So I think there's some logistical issues there too. It'd be fun. A few years ago, actually it was probably 2016, we did some game watches here in the South Hills. We did 2, I want to say, maybe 3. I forget exactly how many we had, and it was fun. We had a good crowd came out. I think the Oklahoma State game, I want to say, in 2016, we had a pretty good crowd there, and then there was a lightning delay, and I think a lot of people took off at that point. But I mean, it was fun. We had a good time with it, but I mean, it is like work. I mean, we got to also kind of work during these games. Can't just sit around and drink, although that's more fun. But I don't know. We'll toss around the idea, and I'll keep trying to think of ways to make it work. But for now, I like our setup here where I sit at my desk and drink, and you guys watch on your computers or phones and drink, and we all for the post game shows at least. We don't drink on Wednesday nights, not on a school night, kids. But for the post game shows at least, that's a fun setup, and we'll probably continue that for the time being. No post-game show this weekend because there's no game. But we will have another Morning Pitt for you on Monday. We'll have the live show on Wednesday night, and we'll be speeding through space toward the Pitt-Louisville game when Pitt comes back off the off week next Saturday at Acrisure Stadium, a noon kickoff there on the 27th. So thanks for watching the video today, the mailbag. Thanks for watching the videos all week long. Make sure you like this video and subscribe. I hope you've had a great week. Enjoy your weekend. Watch some football, and we will catch up with you on Monday for the Morning Pitt right here on youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com.